Your first boss is Athena, and there's nothing really special that she does. She's just straightforward tank and spank. If you're not going for feats or hitting switches or ballistas, what you're going to do is you're all going to be in one quadrant. And that's where you'll DPS her down, heals, tanks, and power, and all that. When I say quadrants, I mean that giant cage that you see on the right of the screen. You're going to see it retract to the ground, and that right there on the ground marks the room as an X. That's your giant landmark, and that tells you where you're at, whether you're on the north, west, east, south, and of course depending on where your tank is taking the boss, you're all going to be in one area DPSing Athena. And I usually stay at melee to mid-range. This was my first time running it, so I decided to go to mid-range just in case, but ideally and going forward I'm just going to go and melee her, since there's nothing really extra that she does. Also, some info on the ballistas. Not only can they do damage to you, but they can actually pull you in. And if they do pull you in right before a cage comes up, you'll obviously be trapped within that quadrant. And if there's an ad there, there's a chance you'll get KO'd. You might not, you might get lucky, but that is something else that you might want to watch out for. So if you're using, obviously if you're gadgets, you can use distract if it's perfectly timed, and you'll gain immunity so it doesn't pull you in. Or if you get lucky again with a tank just popping an immunity power, and then of course you don't get pulled in.
Allies to the south. I warned you. For mortals, you fight with the ferocity.
For this boss, you can actually melee her. I tried to go within melee to mid-range because of my CR, and it's my first time in here. So I tried to play it a little bit more safe. At the very beginning, you're going to see ad spawn. And right there, they are in the northwest. And then the tank will just go and grab them, pull them in, and you just all DPS them down. Now, where Seijipu was standing, you saw a highlighted circle within that big circle. And right now, it's in the area that Soup is in. And that circle moves around the entire room in those dark circle phases there in the ground. It's kind of indented into there. Every time that happens, you're seeing a different phase of a moon cycle, and every time it switches, like right there, you'll see the defense is fully magnified. The boss's defense has been buffed. So what you need to do is either you or a troll will go and hit the switch, and then that defense will return to normal, and then you can of course continue to DPS, and you'll just do that throughout the entire fight. Those circles, highlighted one right there right underneath the mini map, it just moved. So then you just continue, and that's all you basically do for this fight. And then I think it's one full rotation. Once that highlighted circle has gone back to the very beginning where Seijipu was standing, that's when the ads will come out again, and then the tank will just do a pull and just yank them in. And this boss's skull attack, I'm not entirely too sure what it does. I didn't really take any damage, and if I did, it was absorbed by healer shields or consecration over there. Consecrate. It does have a habit of stunning you, from what I remember right, so you'll probably be frozen for a little bit. But once that's up, if you're still alive, if you didn't die, you just continue. There is one attack that I did end up dying twice from, and I think it was a fist slam, and that's probably more than likely due to me being closer. But aside from that, there isn't too many difficult mechanics with this boss. It's fairly straightforward tank and spank. Just EMP. Cycle trinkets, orbitals, supply drops, and just DPS the boss down. It's really easy if you have high CRs. And you'll see right now that ads come out. Every time the highlighted circle, the small one, goes around one full rotation, that's when I think you'll most likely run into those ads. And then the tank just grabs them. If you want to play safe, you can hold block until he has them all, and then continue the rotation. But if you have battle display in stealth, that might be a little tricky, so you might want to block and then throw power, block and then throw power. Do it that way, or depending on where stealth is on your cooldown, you can just hold block the whole time, and then when you come out, you just go back into stealth and take out battle display and then continue the rotation. But here I died because obviously in Elite you only have 2 lives, so I just have to play the spectator now and just watch.
You will regret disturbing me. The waxing moonlight sharpens my focus. Ooh. Very well. Take the elixir and leave me to my work.
Okay, so this is the last boss fight, and you're fighting Zeus. This one has some interesting mechanics, and I'll just get down to the heart of it. You're gonna see him do a skull attack, right, which he just performed now. And when he does that, if he's looking in your direction, and of course you could obviously pop this even if you're to his side or to his rear, you have an elixir that you gain from the second boss fight. So what you do is when you see his skull attack, and again, especially if he's looking in your direction, you drink that soda when he does that skull attack to protect you. And that's all you have to worry about with that specific attack. The other thing that you have to watch out for is there are 4 rods, right? There's 4 pools, pink pools on each corner of this room, and you see them right now, and I'll put arrows there so you could also get a better view of them, or at least know where they're at. And what happens is Zeus will electrify you, and I've just been charged by it now, and you're gonna see me go, and I went into the pool. What you're doing is you're transferring that energy that he's giving you, and you're putting it into that pool. From that point on, if your team doesn't know what they're doing, there's going to be a point where they charge up all 4 pools. And when they do that, let's say a DPS has the charge again and they go to the pool to get rid of it, that energy in the pool is charged, and so are you. So when you have these 2 charged individuals or two charged objects coming towards each other, they're going to explode, and that's what it can knock out your DPS. So what you want to do is, if you have a second tank or a healer or a troll could even do it. What you'll do is, if you have another tank in there as a backup tank or whatever, you can just tell them to run into the pool, pop a shield or stay buffed, go in there, and they'll take the damage. And what happens is now they've eliminated that charged rod in that pool. So anyone can now go back to that same pool, and you won't have to worry about getting one-shotted by the explosion from it. Or if you have just one tank, have your healers and trolls pop a shield, right? It could be a 4-man shield for a troll, or it could be a personal shield, or just another backup shield, something like distract if your gadgets neural neutralize, or even stealth. And what you do is you go into that pool, and you don't have to be charged. Let's say a DPS just went in there, they charged it up, and you're standing right next to them. 2 seconds later, once they've gotten away, you pop your shield. Again, troll or DPS, troll or healer, or tank, you go into that pool and you eliminate that charged pool. Your shield will absorb that damage and keep you alive. And then, of course, the healers will spam. And in some cases, they don't really have to. Your shield will essentially take most of that damage, and you might take just a little bit of damage off of your health. So that's all you have to do in regards to that pool. Somebody charges it, someone with a shield, a strong shield, not something like a personal dampening field, someone with a strong shield, go into that charged pool that was just buffed by that player, like right now. It's charged, you get away, and then somebody goes and removes that buff. And right now you just saw that healer, Wonder Menage, remove the buff. That's all you have to do in regards to that pool. So everyone has basically a free area where they can go, get rid of that, and then continue moving. Now, if you have the bird on you, which you just saw as I'm explaining this, that bird is a little annoying. And I'm not talking about right now as you're transformed. I'm talking about Zeus's bird. He has a bird that flies around the room, right? And of course it can dive and attack players. If you're a DPS, healer, troll, whatever you're at, whatever you are, just take that bird to one side of the room. You could take him to the north, or what I did is, and what we did is we take the bird to the south, to this south door where we entered. This way, when that bird is following that player, whether it's a DPS, healer, whoever, you take that bird there, and then whoever gets transformed, you just go up to that bird and you hit that. If you're on the keyboard, it's 1. If you're on the PlayStation, it's L2 square. That power right there, if you look at your actions menu, or F1 on the keyboard, or up on the D-pad on the controller, it's going to tell you that it's a taunt. And you use that to grab that bird's attention, and you just fly and you kite him up there. And you keep that bird up there. That's all you have to do with this bird. You keep them away from everybody. Now there are times where it will ignore you and charge the team, like a team member, whoever. If you see that, just get on your mic and let the person know that that bird is charging, because the dive bomb can knock you out if you have a real low CR. So that's really the only thing you have to watch out with this bird. The other thing that you can do is, if people don't want to move and help you out and take the bird to the back, which is easier, you have to take your bird character, which if you've been transformed by Zeus, and you go to that bird and then you press that 1 button or L2 square and you taunt the bird, and that bird will hopefully follow you towards the door. That doesn't always happen. Most of the time it does, but if it does not happen, then you need to tell that player, whoever that bird is targeted on, to take that dude all the way to the door. And then you just work your magic there. Now remember to kite that bird once you're there, because it does deal damage to you. If you're just standing there with the bird, don't assume that you can just take hits. You need to kind of like move back and forth in that area, because it's going to do damage. So you need to let your healers know if you're low on health. If you're a healer or a troller, or you're the top DPS, let's say you have the highest CR in that raid, obviously you want to be doing damage, you want to heal, you want to troll. So you don't want to be in bird form. You want to get either your lowest CR, your lowest DPS, whoever. Tell them to go into bird form. So you might have to stay in bird form temporarily until that low DPS or low CR player can be transformed, if you're the DPS. But if you're the healer or the troll or the tank, just look for an apple. There's these golden apples that drop from the map. Those trees, that I'll try to mark it with the arrow. Those trees up there on the east and west, they drop apples every time you get transformed into a bird. You just go up to them and you press circle and it takes you out of it. That's how you get out of that phase or that transformation. But again, if you are the lowest DPS, or you're just waiting for that low DPS to be transformed and you want to get rid of that bird to give the group breathing room, just take it back there. Now you'll also see that Zeus has performed several attacks as he gets lower in health, and there's these kind of electric balls around the room, and they can explode obviously and knock you out. If there's a consecrate up, group shields from a troll, or if you're buffed by the healer shield, then you can absorb the hit. But try to block and kind of maneuver away from them.